In the popular card game Magic the Gathering, there exists a popular deck archetype known as Dredge. While normal decks do things like play cards, use lands for mana, or etc., Dredge is notorious for the fact it likes to do none of these things. The deck discards its entire hand the first turn of the game for funsies, weirdly doesn't want to go first, and mostly wins the game by doing weird bullshit with its discard pile. People like to describe Dredge as playing an entirely different game from the rest of us. This league start strategy is the Dredge of Path of Exile. While other players are busy killing Katava, running Uber labs, clearing maps, fighting eldritch terrors, we just steal shit like a bunch of degenerate meth heads at 2 a.m. trying to get their next fix. If it's not nailed down or welded to a wall, it's ours for the taking. Now, other builds have made the myopic, misconceived allegation that their move speed is unmatched by most, but I say nay. These ninnies do not nearly know what nimble is. This build is so fucking fast it'll blast your ass right off. So sit on down and listen up, bucko. Today you are going to learn what speed really is. See, the thing about heists is you don't have to kill enemies. At all. Ever. With enough job speed and gear, your rogues should be capable of opening doors all on their lonesome without interference by their exiled god blender made babysitter. All you need to do is get from point A to point B and back again without tripping on traps and turning into a meat crayon. So, with that in mind, our build focuses on two things, and two things only. The first should be obvious. Move speed. Literally as much as we can possibly cram into the build without sacrificing too much of our survivability. The second is our anti-grass touch juice. Now, you can of course just slap a mage blood on our precocious raider and call it a day, but we can do better than that. I mean, I still slapped mage blood on anyways, but that's not even necessary. None of the footage you see here even involves the potion seller's belt, but if you happen to have some of those strongest potions laying around, there certainly isn't any harm in chugging them before you run off into battle. Instead, we bolster all our defenses with the usual meta bullshit. Determination, Grace, Defiance Banner, and even Flesh and Stone set to sand mode for some extra foosh juice. To further assist our rogues in opening doors, we also use Blasphemy to temp chains to slow enemies down to a crawl because King Karst can't handle keeping his shit together long enough to open one door without fumbling the goddamn lockpicks. So to start, you might be asking, okay, but how do I kill the enemies? And the answer is, that's the neat part, you don't. With maxed out fully juiced rogues, you can largely just ignore enemies entirely. Combined with the aforementioned curse shenanigans, rogues will be able to pop open those vaulty suckers 60% of the time, every time. As for our borderline breakneck boundless speed, we combine a few pieces together. To start, our passive tree is right f***ed, like straight up forbidden pathing that no other sane build would reasonably consider, even on an off day. There's no beating around it. This build uses stuff like voices jewels and comes in at a whopping 13 jewel sockets. Our dependence on transcendent spirits is straight up unholy, and probably deserves its own horror film adaptation, not gonna lie. But that's just for our baseline zoom. Next, we need to abuse Chainbreaker to convert our mana regen into rage regen to sustain Berserk for extended periods of time. Ideally, we come in at around 15 seconds or so straight of Berserk, putting us at around a 90% uptime. With a Berserk Helm enchant and 2 Ichimonjis, we get an absurd 45% more move speed off the buff alone. But wait, there's more. We pull off another 36% action speed, which is yet another move speed modifier, via Searing Exarch implicit on our boots, courtesy of several divines, dumped into them, and self-chill. Now you might notice a distinct lack of an Oxium and Scold's Bridle in this build, and you'd be right. While older iterations of Speedy Boy builds achieved their zoom via punching themselves in the nuts, our build one-ups them by actively bleeding all over the place instead. There's a specific and unique interaction I want to cover on how we achieve this. We start by utilizing Puncture's extra long 8-second base bleed, and skill effect duration applies to bleed duration fanciness. Divergent Puncture at 20 quality provides the Neato Burrito bonus of melee strikes target 2 additional enemies, and let me tell you, when you're flying across the zone at Mach 12, not having to explicitly aim at enemies is quite handy-dandy. By utilizing some extremely frosted gauntlets, dang yo, we convert the majority of our fizz damage into cold. Combined with a level 1 puncture gem, and you have some very, very neutered bleeds we apply, which is a good thing. No, really. Our next step is to abuse Venopuncture and Golden Rule in order to reflect our weak-ass bleeds onto our own, slightly less weak-ass. Now that we are sufficiently hemorrhaging all over the place, we utilize the Pantheons of Arakali and Ralakesh to keep that shit in check. Make sure not to ever get the debuffs expire 20% faster bonus on Arakali though. That hurts us, not helps us. Venopuncture converts bleeds into chill, but there's some weird interactions here to be aware of. Specifically, any ailment bonuses that would apply to a chill from puncture will also by extension apply to chills reflected from Venopuncture's puncture. That's a mouthful. This means support gems like Divergent Burning Damage, Bone Chill, Unbound Ailments, etc. will all boost this reflected self-chill, and that is absolutely what we do. Because the new Chainbreaker writes our mana regen, we also slap Life Tap on the because it's our only band-aid available for this issue, and we can use every band-aid we can get. With perfect support gems, we come in at 170% increased chill effect, which is perfectly topped up by a final 30% suffix on either your boots or Ami, take your pick. Venopuncture applies a baseline 10% chill, which means 200% ailment effect is just enough to cap us at the full 30% chill. Wait. Why are we chilling ourselves again? Oh, right. Winterweave. We use this ring to invert our chill effect on ourselves, which nicely converts it into a whopping 30% action speed. But there's more. After some testing and confirmation, the effect of Bone Chill is also reversed. See, normally without Winterweave, the self-chill we inflict has the Bone Chill property as a hidden debuff we apply to ourselves, which causes chill effect to also cause increased chill damage taken. Cold damage. Through whatever spaghetti code that GGG has blessed us with, inverting our chill turns the increased taken into a reduced taken, which means while we are self-chilled, we also take 30% reduced cold damage, and for those out of the loop, the scariest enemies in Heist do a lot of cold damage. Robots. Now that we are simultaneously bleeding, cold, and angry, our movement speed gets an effective 100% more modifier, all combined. Any sources of increased movement speed we would get are now doubled. Now let's dig into the meat and potatoes. The f*** do we put on our rogues? Well, as it turns out, it's actually not terribly important. There's really only a couple stats that matter for everyone but Gianna, so let's start with our favorite thirsty thespian, shall we? On her heist tool, getting +1 to all jobs is a good start, but if you can really afford it early in the league, getting this in conjunction with +1 to deception is also ideal. Every level to Gianna boosts the effect of her reveals exponentially, allowing you to achieve some fairly cheap reveals with Wakano.
Nice.
For her brooch, we want tier 1 value of primary target to maximize our marker yield. If you get both of these items in conjunction, you will very rarely need to buy that funny money at all. Her cloak barely matters, but move speed and job speed are mostly what you care about. Don't think too hard about this one, though. We are here to steal shit, remember, not faff about with crafting and whatever nonsense those meta slaves roll around in. For every rogue, we'll be wanting burst band weapons, as these can roll up to 40% increased mana regen on them, and that's a big deal for us because that directly correlates to more raid regen, which means better uptime on Berserk. Man, you ever get so pissed off by your buddy's fashion choices you start to see red? For all rogues other than Gianna, we mostly just care about +1 to all jobs on their tool, job speed everywhere we can possibly get it, the aforementioned mana regen on their weapons, but their cloak is where it really matters. See, to maximize profits in Heist, you end up just ignoring almost all chests. It's largely not worth it when you have our kind of zoom juice. Instead, our focus is almost entirely on getting to the final room to get those juicy dopamine hits as we play a round of Smash or Pass. This means the modifier on Rogue Whispering Cloaks, 5% chance to not activate lockdown in grand heists is the only thing that matters, really. It stacks as well, which means the 3 different rogues in a given wing get a 15% chance to take a second reward from their wing, and even very, very, very rarely, a third. I have never seen a 4th yet, but I hope I'm recording when that day arrives. That largely covers the gearing, so then the question becomes, well, what blueprints do I run? And the answer to that is, well, any of them, to be honest. Unusual gems are the most popular and what you can see me doing in this video, but they also require a lot of learning to actually go fast. It's required knowledge on what gems are worth divine, so you have to keep a thumb on the pulse of the meta and watch Po Ninja for the daily fashion trends. If you're more interested in the zero brain cell approach, though, you can just run trinkets and currency blueprints. These tend to shit out delirium orbs, winged scarabs, and stacks of chaos orbs. It's solid, reliable currency, usually a lot easier to price out. I recommend this one for beginners. At the middle ground, for those of us who have sold our souls and wallet seams to Chris Wilson for stash tabs, replica uniques are quite solid as well. Unfortunately, the majority of your profit comes from unusual bases, and though the money is good, they do tend to sort of take up a lot of space, so be prepared for the veritable hodgepodge of inventory that this strategy entails. All things combined, this is a wonderful form of gameplay for any folks who have started to grow a bit bored of killing shit in circles every league. If you're interested in playing the pacifist route of Path of Exile to unlock its hidden ending, then perhaps this strategy might be for you. If you have any questions or feedback, please feel free to leave them in the comments of the video. I'm trying to stream more often on Twitch, so feel free to subscribe to me on there. I'll leave a link to my Twitch channel in the description. Take care as always, and remember, shit is situational.